Denver, so he's going to move on from our chapter, and Julie's going to be the perennial past president for us. So Jason, if you come up and please accept your past president award. Thank you very much for your experience. Our next award is our Conservationist of the Year award. This goes normally to a non-professional that has shown outstanding conservation around our region. This year we've given it to A.T. and Cinda Cole, who own the Pitchfork Ranch, which is down in the borough of Cienega. They were raised in Phoenix and lived there for 32 years. A.T. and Cinda Cole purchased the Pitchfork Ranch south of Silver City in 2003 and retired there, permanently residing at the headquarters. Living their lives there, supporting ranching and integrity, honoring the conservation easement, and protecting the open spaces. The overarching goal for this multi-purpose ranch is ecosystem restoration to bring the ranch closer to its historical character by retaining water on the ranch and in the ground, reducing runoff, erosion, evaporation, and crowding out of native grasses by invasive woody plants. Specific projects are many, but include hydraulic data collection and mapping, riparian transition and upland repair, and several projects to provide habitat for at-risk plants and animals. Existing animals on the ranch include pronghorn, white-tailed deer, mule deer, peccary, skunk, raccoon, fox, rock squirrel, guadamundi, mountain lion, black bears, golden eagle, great horned owl, and a variety of hawks, and 70 documented species of birds and other Chihuahuan wildlife, including rare butterflies and plants. Since acquiring the ranch in 2003, the Coles have more than doubled the length of permanently watered area within the borough of Cienega that runs through their property through habitat restoration efforts. They have also facilitated partnerships with state and federal management agency to reintroduce and study at-risk wildlife. Special refugia for Chiricahua leopard frog were constructed and have been stopping Chiricahua leopard frog, and the frogs are doing well. Akamada falcons have also been introduced on their ranch. So we're really honored. They also allow researchers from several of the local universities to come out there and do research on the ranch, which is a great privilege for everyone. So we're really proud to present this award to A.T. and Cinda Cole. The 2013 Professional of the Year for Arizona, New Mexico chapter has worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife for 11 years as a conservation advocate for many of Arizona's native species, including, but certainly not limited to, Chiricahua leopard frog, northern leopard frogs, Mexican garter snakes, round-tailed chub, Gila chub, headwater chub, blue-head sucker, and little Colorado spine dace. Shala head wall. Conservation include reconnaissance trips to determine habitat suitability, tirelessly working to carry out the rodent treatment in Fossil Creek and many efforts to improve the status of Little Colorado's spine days. These are just a small sampling of the work that Shaw has carried out in the last few years. And she's a mentor and role model for aspiring young biologists and seasoned professionals alike, and carries herself in confident and friendly air. The nomination says she's a goal-driven individual and has a knack for achieving what others consider impossible. So congratulations for a really wonderful. And our last award it's the first time we're giving out, it's our new Fish Head Award. It's considered our Career Achievement Award. This is the first time we're giving this out. As most of us know that have been in the conservation business for any amount of time, it's often a thankless job. There are not a lot of people that are standing up and cheering for projects that help some no-name fish that they've never heard of. It takes a special person to be an outspoken advocate for these fish for 35 years and fight the fights that need to happen. With a name like Brooks, becoming a fish head was more than just a choice, it was destiny. Jim Brooks began his career with Arizona Game and Fish Department as a wildlife manager in the Blue River area, his childhood stomping grounds. Then became the first native fish biologist within the department. There's a few more now. Also, a very unique opportunity came up when he was forced to be both the first urban fish program manager as well as the only native fish biologist. He absolutely loved this new position, though it doesn't sound like a dream come true. Sources say he came to work every day with a smile on his face, whistling a happy tune. Things may have turned sour when he became the recognized great Cayman under-the-desk hunter and became very well-renowned with the status among his co-workers. Eventually, he moved on to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in New Mexico, where he has been for over 25 years. He transitioned to the leader of the New Mexico Fish and Wildlife Conservation Office, which has gone by many acronyms, including WCO, FRO, FAO. There was a short stint as the Fisheries Assistant Group, but that didn't last very long. Also, he transitioned into city life with indoor plumbing, which also took a little time here in the city of Albuquerque. But then he finally settled into the South Valley with his mules. Jim's work and influence has helped to protect and restore rare, threatened, and endangered species that inhabit the arid and often unforgiving Southwest landscape. Conserving fishes in the Southwest presents many challenges, and Jim continues to tackle with passion and enthusiasm. Throughout his career, he has been an integral part of native fish programs on the Pecos, San Juan, Middle Rio Grande, and especially the Gila and Gila trout and Chihuahua chub recovery team. Each of his programs has been highly contentious at one time or another, but Jim has always maintained his strong advocacy for doing the right thing for the species. His work on the San Juan was the first one to document the continued persistence of Colorado pikemen there. That brought forth the accusation from water users that Jim had actually smuggled pikemen to the San Juan from Dexter. Jim has a stake in broader efforts as well as in the development of the National Fish Habitat Action Plan, the Western Native Trout Initiative, and the development and instruction of standard operating procedures required for the application of pesticides. He's worked positively and productively with folks from all corners of the conservation world, including academics, NGOs, state agencies, other federal agencies, and private industry. Jim has also worked internationally. He and several of his colleagues have worked extensively in Mexico, documenting unknown species of trout in the mountains down there, as well as warm water species. One of the highlights of his career is to be selected to work in the Fish and Wildlife Service to participate in the International Wildlife Without Borders effort in China to discuss wildlife and fisheries issues in China. We believe that this effort involved a great deal of sake bonding with other biologists. Something that, for those that you don't know Jim very well, is that he does not suffer fools easily, meaning that he often pisses off puffed up, self-important bureaucrats. Another important point to note about Jim is that he not only influences and directs recovery activities, but he also carries them out in the field side by side with his employees. Jim has devoted a huge part of his career towards improving the status of native fish and has logged many hours, as well as gallons of whiskey, on the trails of the Gila Wilderness, taking Gila trout from the brink of extinction to a more stable status. His mules should really get most of the credit here because they did most of the work. But really, when the largest wildfire in New Mexico's history ravaged the Gila Wilderness last year, Jim was on the ground with evacuation crews, packing on mules beyond active fire lines, collecting irreplaceable Gila trout populations and flying them out to safety. It is likely without his effort during this catastrophe that half of the relative images of Gila trout would be extinct today. This project leader is willing to get into the trenches and put his life on the line right there with his crew for the preservation of native fish. This is what makes him worthy of our first fish head. Jim, please accept our first fish head award. This is an award hoping that you retire, because we hear you still have plenty to do with the white-walled fire, but it's for an exemplary career in the field of fisheries and conservation management.
Okay, we can have somebody from the Arizona Wildlife Society up here for their awards.
Good evening. This is my first opportunity to present awards. I'm the incoming chapter president of the Arizona chapter, and we have 5 awards to present this evening. And I am going to have some assistance from some people from the audience to help me with their awards. So I didn't want to psych anybody out and think that I was giving them an award, but would John Kropowski please come up and assist me? Our first award is the Roger Hungerford Preferred Student Award is given to a student who, while attending an Arizona college or university, made significant contributions to the management and conservation of Arizona's wildlife and our habitat. Management and conservation categories are wildlife, research, education, training, management, conservation, or law enforcement. The award is given in memory of one of Arizona's finest research biologists, Roger Hungerford. With that, John, can you present the winner?
It's with great pleasure that I announce the winner of the Hungerford Award, Melissa Merrick from the University of Arizona. Melissa received her bachelor's from Nebraska Wesleyan University, then a master's from Idaho State, where she worked on burying beetles, and then finally saw the light, moved to Arizona, and has been working on the endangered mountain brown red squirrel. She's won several competitive fellowships, has 10 publications in peer-reviewed journals or in press, and has just been an outstanding friend and colleague as well as a student, and it's an incredible honor to present this to you, Melissa.
All right, that was easy. All right, our next award is the Wildlife Habitat Relationships Award. This award is given to professional wildlife biologists in Arizona for their contribution to understanding or applying habitat principles to management of an animal species or group of species. The recipient receives a check based on interest generated for the year in the habitat relationship account. So look for that in the mail. This year's Wildlife Habitat Relationships Award goes to Dana Warnicke. Dana has worked as a habitat specialist for the Arizona Game and Fish Department for the past 12 years. As part of her routine job responsibilities, she gets involved with the management of land and water resources on behalf of wildlife. While representing the department's position and interests within the world of NEPA, resource management planning, transportation, energy, and urban development projects in the more routine part of the job, through all this, Dana has successfully advocates for wildlife and wildlife habitat conservation proves to be the most challenging part of her job. In addition to the endless slew of projects that come to the region for review, Dana is committed to several pet projects that she says help her feel like she's making a difference. Those pet projects have included conservation of the aquifer grasslands and the resident pronghorn population, riparian restoration and fish habitat enhancement at Canyon Creek, linkage planning and design in Maricopa County, and participation on a department team that has been focused on the development of the habitat. I wanted to get a little more in depth from her award since she kind of came over here on her own dollar, so I want to get her money's worth. So, Dana's interest in the aquifer grasslands in central Arizona and the resident pronghorn herd began in the early 2000s, when the cumulative impacts of several years of drought have resulted in extremely poor coverage and forage conditions. Dana organized and led an Arizona Game and Fish Department regional multi-year effort to evaluate the availability of pronghorn pond hiding cover. Lack of hiding cover was a potential factor that believed to be contributing to declining pond recruitment rates at the time, and the results indicated that part of that interannual variation due to precipitation patterns, livestock grazing pressure appeared to be the most important factor influencing availability of hiding cover. Bringing this information back to land managers and ranchers proved to be a political landmine, but at the time the work proved influential in establishing residual stubble height standards for some of the area's allotments, a measure that helped problems for maintaining at a minimum level the habitat requirements of pronghorn. And this effort by her really was the key factor in recovering and making that pronghorn population viable and at some of the higher numbers that we have today. Dana has also organized fence improvement projects over the years and committed to fostering partnerships with the Arizona Animal Foundation. And as part of a broader effort to conserve the Otter Creek grasslands, Dana was instrumental in the development of an acquisition proposal and grant funding strategy for the recently acquired Arizona Game Fish property at Horseshoe Ranch. Without Dana's vision and determination, this would never have happened. Dana has also focused energy on the restoration of riparian habitats and stabilization of stream channels along the canyon and mule creeks with impacts of the Rodeo Chesky fire. She successfully pursued an Arizona Water Protection Fund grant to construct an elk enclosure and has taken it under her wing with ongoing maintenance and 2 exposures. This is a project that has required a sustained multi-year commitment on top of her routine workload. And it's kind of, finally but not, there's a bunch of things she's done, but she's also been thrust into the urban development world with escalating concerns about the future for Arizona's landscape. Dana has found a new form to work for wildlife. Her involvement for linkage planning and implementation has led to a role of advocacy on the west side of Phoenix, where she engaged with the municipalities, county agencies, transportation planners, federal land management agencies, solar developers, and more recently the American Association of Governments. So with that, congratulations to Dana for your work. Our next award is the Conservation Award. This award is given to a person or persons not employed directly as a wildlife biologist or an organization not directly involved in wildlife management, who contributes significantly to the conservation of wildlife and or the habitat in Arizona. Conservation can include, but is not limited to research, education, legislation, and protection and enhancement of wildlife and their habitat. Weight is given to the significance of the contribution to conservation. So we can give a warm welcome to this person that traveled all the way from Arizona. This is her first Wildlife Society meeting, and the winner is the Conservation Award goes to Western Watersheds Project, and Greta Anderson is here to accept the award. Western Watersheds Project works in the Southwest to advocate for species and habitat imperiled by public lands, livestock grazing, and the infrastructure that supports this activity. To do so, Western Watershed watchdogs and federal land management agencies review and comment on every permit renewal and range plumbing plan throughout Arizona. Since 2007, Western Watershed has commented on more than 85 BLM and rangeland health assessments, protested proposed decisions on more than 60 grazing allotments, and successfully appealed 7 final grazing decisions. On Forest Service lands, Western Watershed has commented and appealed dozens of range decisions. In addition, the organization comments and or litigates over land management plans when they fail to consider the impacts of grazing on wildlife habitat. They're also very involved with endangered species and management of animals on the land. And the outcome of Western Watershed's intervention to limit the rubber stamping and status quo management has plagued some of the land managers and harmed wildlife. Western Watersheds has generated positive outcomes for Sonoran desert tortoise, bighorn sheep, Mexican wolves, federally listed fish species, and numerous other plants and animals that depend on public land habitats. Some of their highlights are they compelled to be able to define the right resource management plan for the Sonoran Desert National Monument that resulted in the agency deciding to close over 95,000 acres of livestock grazing. It's commented on and protested some BLM proposal to convert 4.5 million acres in Arizona to solar energy development zones, and urged the agency to instead stick to already disturbed areas and maintain pristine areas for wildlife habitat connectivity. And they've taken a lead throughout the West to help agencies protect wild sheep by commenting and litigating the necessary management plans on the BLM Forest Service allotments that threaten wild sheep populations from diseases and domestic sheep. And to me, this is one of the greater goals of the Western watersheds, not only from Arizona, but they, in my opinion, are a leader with domestic sheep issues in the West and our wild sheep populations. Without Western watersheds, there would be a lot of less sheep on the mountain. So with that, I congratulate Greta, Western watersheds.
So you can imagine it's not every day that I stand up in front of a room full of agency folks to a bunch of supportive applause. Anyway, we're very proud to receive this, so thanks to everybody. And if you want to learn more about our work at Rock Propaganda, we're a nonprofit organization that relies on memberships. And so if you want to find out more about us, I've got newsletters and stuff, or you can sign up online for our e-newsletter and find out what we do in Arizona and New Mexico. But really what I wanted to say is the work that we do is just an extension of the work that you do, because our role is to make sure that the land management agencies are considering the things that you're finding out through your research, monitoring, data collection, and efforts on the ground. So in accepting this award, what I really want to say to all of you is keep up the good work. Thanks.
All right, for this next award, I'm going to require some assistance. Will Holly Hicks please help me? Our next award is the Professional Service Award. It's given to an Arizona biologist for outstanding contributions to management and conservation of wildlife. The individual is also recognized for professional work standards and conduct. Contribution can be in areas of wildlife research, education and training, management, conservation, and law enforcement. These contributions can be over several years or limited to a few years of outstanding service. Weight is given to the significance of the contributions and professional work ethic, not necessarily the number of years of service. And this is available for both supervisory and non-supervisory biologists may be considered for this award. Holly, if you can announce the winner of the Professional Service Award.
Robert Pink, you want to come up here? Robert is exhibited for professionalism throughout his career. Robert goes out of his way to make time for helping wildlife and aiding students with their career pursuits. He has an exceptional ability to teach students and volunteers various methods and techniques, and the patience to make sure they have learned it correctly and could repeat again without assistance. I've always admired Robert's ability to see the world as a landscape rather than by individual species, and his passion for educating the public to live in harmony with wildlife rather than viewing wildlife as a threat. I believe that the message that Robert teaches will be passed on through the younger generation that he works with continuously, and that wildlife and their habitats have a brighter future because of the dedication that he puts forth both in his professional career and his personal endeavors. His exceptional work both for the Arizona Game and Fish Department and the Wildlife Society make him an exceptional choice for the Professional Service Award. Along with his career with Game and Fish, he has also been very active with the Arizona chapter of the Wildlife Society. In 2006, he was asked to serve as the JAM registration chair. While the work was overwhelming, he provided first-rate service to the board and found the experience very rewarding. In 2008 through 2010, he served a 2-year term as board member. In In 2010, he served as registration chair again, in spite of the workload he knew was coming. With the help of student volunteers, the burden was partially lifted and found the experience to again be rewarding. The board and members were served exceptionally and received many positive comments from the board regarding the membership dues. In 2011, he agreed to serve as the AV chair for the joint annual meeting. This position prevented him from attending the presentations and participating in most of the JAM, but he felt proud of the work he accomplished, and once completed, he provided extensive revisions to the JAM manual regarding the duties of the AV chair. Now in 2012, Robert has agreed to serve as registration chair, which has added quite a workload onto his already busy schedule. As registration chair, Robert maintains the registration database, updates new registrations, sends out TWS alerts, and has made recommendations on how to improve the website and registration process. The registration database needs to be maintained continuously by completing tasks such as creating contact lists to indicate current membership and solving membership issues. Robert also spends a good amount of time actively recruiting new members and has taken the membership to what may be an all-time high. He has also helped with creating PowerPoint presentations to present to student chapters to help promote the state chapter and solicit new members. He has worked intimately with the student chapters to create a more engaged student chapter presence and involvement through attendance at their meetings and social events. Beyond the existing student chapter, he's also been working with students and professors at Prescott College to start a new student chapter. He attended their first meeting and provided local contacts for future guidance. He is also working with Eastern Arizona College to possibly create another student chapter, which is still in very infancy. To promote the Wildlife Society, Robert arranged for and worked with colleagues to complete a revision of the membership application form. He also takes many photos of events, such as at the Wildlife Technique Workshop and the JAM, and uses those photos to create posters to present to the public at outreach events, and eventually to post on campuses and offices. He's offered assistance for the Wildlife Techniques Workshop, assisting with registration, acquiring new members, teaching knots to students between sessions, replacing instructors when needed. Robert's been a key player in the success of our state chapter. With that, I'm going to present you with the Professional Leader Award.
If anyone forgot to register, I do have forms with me.
Speech, Robert, speech.
So you can see Robert does quite a lot of things, and I didn't want to lose him himself, so I definitely was happy that he received that award. We have one more award. It's the Doug Morrison Award. This is given in memory of Doug Morrison, to an Arizona biologist in a non-supervisory position who has made a significant contribution to the management and conservation of wildlife in Arizona. The award exemplifies the dedicated work ethic of the chapter's former president, U.S. Forest Service biologist Doug Morrison. Contributions can be in the areas of wildlife research, education, training and management, conservation, or law enforcement. Contributions can be over a relatively short period of time or several years, and ways given to the significance of contributions and not necessarily a number of years in service. The award is given to a non-supervisory biologist in memory of Doug Morrison. And with that, this year's Doug Morrison Award goes to Russ Hoy. Russ Hoy, we're congratulating you for your efforts in education and training. And he's done many great things for wildlife during his career. I've always thought Russ was ahead of his time in encouraging and supporting students and to pursuing a career in wildlife, especially during his last few years while working with the Arizona Game Fish Department. Russ was constantly pushing the administration to conduct more outreach to high schools and colleges to encourage students to consider a career in wildlife management. And his efforts and contributions to education and training, especially in his new role at Scottsdale Community College, qualify him to be in the company of other award recipients for this honor. During his career, Russ has worked at the Desert Botanical Gardens as a superintendent, a natural resources planner at the Goldwater Air Force Range, and as a wildlife manager at the Arizona Game and Fish Department. As a wildlife manager, he's prosecuted over 1,000 wildlife violations, including a case where 2 men killed 550 Mexican free-tailed bats under a bridge. One man was sentenced to 2 years in Perryville prison for his part in the crimes. Russ spent 19 years in the habitat program, not to be confused with Perryville prison. Dealing with contact between wildlife and grazing, mining, urban development, highway construction, urban planning, and many other threats to wildlife habitat in central Arizona. At the same time, he was involved with the department on teams and issues related to new employee recruitment, mentoring, interns, and pay issues. Seeing a disconnect between colleges and universities training wildlife professionals and their employers, Russ helped set up the University Summit. In this forum, universities, natural resource agencies met to identify personnel and academic needs and shortcomings in the training of future biologists and develop solutions. Russ has mentored a number of interns, most of whom have been successful in careers in wildlife, working for the Arizona Game and Fish Department, the National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Forest Service, various non-governmental organizations, and even a microbrewery. In 2010, Russ retired from the Arizona Game and Fish Department and took a full-time position at Scottsdale Community College as a residential botany faculty, and is also an executive director of the Center for Native and Urban Wildlife, a student-based pro-wildlife group at the college that has students involved in environmental education, habitat restoration, and wildlife conservation projects. Here, Russ put together a 2+2 wildlife degree program in partnership with AZTWS Polytech, leading to a Bachelor of Science in Wildlife Restoration Ecology. Russ students have recently formed their own student chapter at the Wildlife Society, and he has brought his students here to the JAM. Over the years, Russ's role has grown from protecting wildlife first as a law enforcement officer, then a habitat specialist, and now a recruiter and educator of future wildlife professionals and caretakers of nature. Russ, thanks for all your efforts. Thank you for your attention.
And now we'd like to announce our student scholarships. We have 3 student scholarships. One is for $750, and we also have 2 for $250. And for the scholarship winners, and also for the best poster and best paper winners, if you could please go to the Ivory Room tomorrow morning at the mid-morning break. We'll have your checks for you then. But we do have a certificate tonight. The winner of the $750 scholarship is Kevin McCormick. Now, Kevin graduated with a bachelor's degree from UNM in biology. Unfortunately, Kevin is not able to be here tonight. He is in Kenya studying behavioral ecology of hyenas. Okay, the first winner of the $250 $50 scholarship is Sarah Kinshu. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Is Sarah here tonight?
No, she's not here.
Okay, I thought she was going to be maybe here, maybe not, but we will track down Sarah later. But if you see her, please give her a hand. The second winner of our $250 scholarship is Jason Pittman. Jason, if you would come on up. Jason is a master's candidate at AFS, studying the microhabitat selection of elk in New Mexico and how it relates to elk calf survival. Correct? Jason, congratulations. We have one final award. It's our professional award. To present our professional award, Leland Pierce is going to present that. Leland has known the winner of our professional award for many years, and Leland wanted to be the one to present the award.
Thank you. I'm a little nervous here. You're going to have to bear with me. The greatest MC in the history of the New Mexico part of the game and fish, Drew Shelby, is sitting in the office in the room, so I'm going to be really under pressure to perform here. Before we get going, on a personal note, last year, our Southwest representative to the National TWS, Carol Chambers, encouraged some of us to help put on a fire symposium, and it was challenging. And one of the individuals that did the heavy lifting on that, I never got to meet in person. I always wanted to meet in person. I always knew Charlotte Edwell was hell on wheels, and I just want to second the award that AFS gave her. And hi Charlotte, I'm Leland, and we need to talk about her. Now, those of you who know me know I'm on a lot of boards, and the thing I love to do more than anything else is to give an award. I think it's great to recognize people, and it's great for students to be inspired to, try to meet or even meet the individuals that win these awards. And to have the opportunity to give an award to a personal friend makes it even better. So the New Wildlife Society of Mexico Chapter 2012 Professional Award is presented to